I need to start by just saying it's such a pleasure to be here because I've been looking around the room and it's a different kind of meeting. First of all, I see many people who I've worked with over the last 3 decades, and we really need to step out. So I'm excited also to see that half the room is very young people. So welcome to the challenge and the fight. We're soon going to be moving on and making way for all of you to take the baton forward. That was the first. The second is, of course, just to pay homage to Sai Damodran, Geeta Jagan, and his entire team, because I have not seen so many really rooted and committed teams ever in development, and I've been working in development, not just water sanitation, for 25 years. So let's give them a big hand. So when they asked me whether I could be involved in the summit, I said anything I can do to support, to bring these voices that we don't hear for many reasons, also because we don't speak the local language. I also said to them, I wish this was in Trichy, Delhi, we have so many meetings. But they explained to me that it was very important to bring these voices to Delhi. So I really salute you for doing that, because it doesn't happen a lot. And I can tell you, some of us just see very different faces and the same faces in Delhi all the time, but not these faces. So thank you for doing that. Next time, do it in Trichy. I actually visited Gramalaya, I think Mr. Paramasavan will also remember, in 2000, really for DFID, to do a review of water aid support. And it was so exciting to see that in the year 2000, Gramalaya had a well-oiled machine for sanitation in public spaces. Well-oiled. We're not talking about household individual toilets, which is, the language that we all talk about, but really in urban, in towns and cities, really working to bring a sustainable model with self-help groups, demand-driven, but really with quality. Not the public space sanitation facility that everybody cringes to use. And they had already been doing that for a very long time. So, I just want to really salute that forward-looking nature of Gramalaya's work and water aid support, which really ensured that local voices, local partnerships rooted in their communities would make the change, because that's the only way we'll make the change in this country of 29 states and 6, 7, 8 union territories seem to be increasing every day. So I've lost count. But it's pretty amazing to have seen that. So at that time in 2000, we talked. After visiting a lot of the work, we talked about women's security, the self-help groups, about women's voices beyond sanitation, about what protection they had, and about menstruation and menstrual hygiene management. And Gramalaya assured me that this was going to be on their agenda because they saw it as an integral part of sanitation. Fast forward, and they've been doing it all. They've everything from awareness raising, by people for their own communities and in the family, not just in schools, but also most importantly, not throwing away what we actually know and value in India to be good. Sound environmental principles in everything we do. So we just heard about the cloth pad, we heard about reuse, and what is most exciting, and I have to come back to see it, is that I've been told that now you can see in the villages and small towns where they work, you have, in the households, you have a toilet with an attached bathing space and clotheslines with menstrual cloths hanging freely in the sun. Now, Many of us sitting here have been working on this issue for a few years or for many years. Some of these very basic, simple, grounded principles, I'm afraid we don't see every day. We are seeing pad production and distribution. It's become a science of its own. Everything from banana fiber, jute, wood pulp, you name it, is there, right? Lots of innovation. Not necessarily linked, as we just heard, to the disposal. We also have the most amazing creative programs and innovation around breaking the silence, from campaigns to training materials. How can I forget organizations that started way before MHM was even coined as a term or became fashionable? Chetna, Jatan Sansthan, BRAC in Bangladesh. These were doing the education and awareness. And Lakshmi sitting here, the menstrual wheel was there way before we even thought of MHM policy, right? So this was happening also, the awareness and education. And separately, of course, we have the menstrual management space, which I must give credit to the Ministry of Water and Sanitation for really calling on the redesign of sanitation and water spaces to ensure changing in privacy and dignity, to ensure disposal with dignity, and to ensure safety through this all. And if you remember, the world's first menstrual hygiene policy, actually the existing Nirmal Bharat Abhiyan policy was amended in 2013 and on 13 December signed in as policy with MHM as 3 prongs. It seems like history, but many things have happened after that. And we have a policy roundtable where we'll discuss that in detail. What has happened in parallel is a plethora and a flurry of activities and a plethora of agencies, organizations springing up on MHM, whether you call it menstrual hygiene or menstrual health, all part of the same big family, to really ensure, and we've heard all the different facets from you. Thank you so much, Sneha. Really, it's a most comprehensive overview. But what I really want to remind us all as we go forward to this summit is that, women and men don't live their lives in silos. It's not today an MHM silo, tomorrow an environmental silo, day after an education silo. All these are part of our daily lives and moments and interconnected. And what brings this out most for me is public spaces in India. We can celebrate, as we heard and we all know, in a few days, we'll be celebrating that India is practically open defecation free. It's already announced on the ministry's website if you have a look at it. But what does that mean for a woman and girl is not so obvious. You ask any woman or girl or menstruator of any gender identity or preference how comfortable they feel outside the home during their menstrual periods. And you will get the same answer no matter what socioeconomic class or group. Fear, trauma, embarrassment, anxiety, avoidance, low confidence, and basically an inability to really live life to its fullest during that time. And guess what? It doesn't end when you stop your periods, because if you're damned when you menstruate, you're also damned when you reach menopause, So I really want to remind us that MHM on its own is not a silver bullet to women's equality. It is one stigma that we better take hold of and destroy and replace with dignity, pride, and safety. And in so doing, learn the lessons to apply to other stigmas that affect men and women across their life course. So as we continue our deliberations, let's not get too technocratic. It's important. We will be having sessions on policy, on waste, on awareness raising, on really grassroots movements and how to scale them up. But let's not forget that these lessons need to be also brought to other areas of stigma, exclusion, and violation of human rights. And I would like to mention 2 or 3 here. Sujoy Majumdar reminded us about persons with disabilities. Well, if women in India and women and girls in India and everywhere in the world that I've seen, developed and developing, suffer from stigma and shame during their periods silently, then how much worse it is for a blind girl or a girl with a hearing impairment or any motor or physical disability to manage this? And how much worse is it for transgender people? I've done a lot of work with trans men who cannot actually bear the thought that they still bleed, however little it may be. They cannot talk about it. Who will they talk to when they can't even talk about their identity without facing stigma and ridicule? And then, of course, let's not forget the sanitation workers who pick up those dirty used pads, often in terrible conditions, along with a lot of other unsanitary waste, and themselves are part of that stigmatized socialization, but are forced to do this job in a very unsanitary way. So we have some amazing people in this room, and once again, I congratulate Gramalaya for bringing together a whole range of people. I saw lots of medicos. I'm not a doctor, by the way, of any kind, but I saw lots of medicos, health practitioners and professionals, policymakers, a lot of grassroots people in the participant list. I also saw eco-warriors. I love that term. We'll be hearing more from them. And waste management agencies, and most importantly, a lot of manufacturers of a range of now increasingly compostable, biodegradable materials. So we have together a really good group of people for the next 2 days. We need to integrate this conversation into the bigger picture. We have successful projects that you'll be talking about, your experiences and lessons. We need to be able to bring this into the next phase of Swachh Bharat. Let's not forget that any initiative, however successful on its own, remains an island of excellence unless it can really be shared across districts and states, across panchayats, to really be adapted and replicable, because every time you achieve one gram panchayat, one GP, or one district, there are hundreds more waiting. So let's integrate this into the opportunities, the human and financial resources, which are enormous within Swachh Bharat 2, to really take this forward. And at the same time, the huge resources of the health ministry that Dr. Khera will be talking to us to, and the schemes of the Ministry of National Health and Family Welfare that have been already very active in this area. NGO work is amazing to show the way, to innovate, which very often large bureaucracies cannot do. But if it remains a silo or an island of excellence, this country will not be able to crack this issue. So really, in ending, I'd just like to really say that, today, unfortunately, the additional secretary could not be with us, Mr. Arun Baroka, who has been a real champion of the social aspects of Swachh Bharat. It's because they're all at the Swachhata Shramadan with the minister at the Yamuna. But he really did ask for really the key voices and recommendations from this meeting. So if we can remember that here is an opportunity to share and learn, of course, and network and get to know each other, but also really put something on the table in the ministries. We have the health ministry here, and Ministry of Water and Sanitation, MDWSD, will be happy to really receive a concise set of recommendations from us all. So having said that, I wish the summit very fruitful discussions and deliberations and look forward to getting many of you better. Thank you.